The transport ship shuddered as it entered the atmosphere of Kepler 442b, its hull scarred from 3 years of brutal warfare against the Zephyrian Empire. Captain Marcus Chen pressed his face against the viewport, watching the alien landscape unfold beneath them. Purple forests stretched endlessly toward crimson mountains, while twin suns cast an otherworldly glow across the conquered territory. The war was over. Humanity had won, but at a cost that still haunted Marcus every night. Half the human fleet lay destroyed in the void between stars, and countless soldiers would never see Earth again. Now came the difficult task of managing the spoils of victory, including the thousands of alien prisoners who had surrendered in the final battle. "Captain Chen, report to Base 7 immediately," crackled the intercom. Marcus straightened his uniform and made his way through the crowded corridors, filled with weary soldiers and relief workers. The transport ship carried not just military personnel, but also scientists, diplomats, and administrators tasked with establishing humanity's first interstellar colony. Bay 7 buzzed with activity as human officials processed alien prisoners. Most Zephyrians stood nearly 8 feet tall with translucent blue skin and 4 arms, their large black eyes reflecting an intelligence that had made them formidable opponents. They had fought with honor, using advanced technology that humanity had barely managed to overcome through sheer determination and tactical innovation. Colonel Harrison waited near a processing station, his weathered face bearing the marks of someone who had seen too much combat. "Chen, we have a situation. The peace treaty requires us to assign human guardians to high-value alien prisoners. You've been selected for a special case," Marcus frowned. "Sir, I was hoping to return to Earth for some leave. My family hasn't seen me in over 2 years. "I understand, Captain, but this assignment comes directly from Central Command. The prisoner you'll be responsible for is unique. Intelligence believes they possess crucial information about Zephyrian technology that could benefit humanity's expansion into this sector." Harrison led Marcus to a separate holding area where a single figure sat in meditation pose. Unlike the other Zephyrians, this alien appeared smaller, perhaps 6 feet tall, with skin that seemed to shimmer between different shades of blue and silver. Intricate patterns covered their arms like living tattoos, pulsing with a faint luminescent glow. "This is Zara Keth," Harrison explained in a low voice. They held the rank of Nexus Guardian in the Zephyrian fleet, which roughly translates to a combination of chief scientist and spiritual advisor. During the final battle, they personally surrendered their ship to prevent further bloodshed among their crew. Marcus studied the alien through the transparent barrier. Zara Keth's movements were graceful and deliberate, suggesting both physical capability and mental discipline. Despite being a prisoner, they radiated a calm dignity that commanded respect. "What exactly will my responsibilities entail?" Marcus asked. "You'll be stationed at Research Outpost Alpha, about 50 kilometers from here. Your job is to ensure Zara Keth's safety and cooperation, while our scientists study their knowledge. The treaty stipulates that prisoners must be treated with dignity and respect, so this isn't a typical guard duty." Harrison paused, his expression growing serious. "Chen, I'll be honest with you. Some of our people aren't happy about these arrangements. There's still a lot of anger about the war, and not everyone agrees with treating former enemies as honored guests. You'll need to watch for trouble from our own side as much as any external threats." Marcus nodded grimly. He had witnessed the hatred that war bred, how easily soldiers could dehumanize their enemies. The challenge would be protecting an alien who had fought against humanity while maintaining his own credibility among his fellow humans. As if sensing his presence, Zara Keth turned toward the barrier. Their large eyes met Marcus's gaze, and for a moment he felt a strange sensation, as if the alien was looking directly into his soul. There was no hostility in that stare, only a profound sadness mixed with something that might have been curiosity. "When do we leave for the outpost?" Marcus asked. "Tomorrow at dawn. You'll have a small support team, including Dr. Sarah Reynolds, our lead xenobiologist, and Lieutenant Torres for security backup. The outpost is well equipped but isolated, so you'll be largely on your own." That evening, Marcus sat in his quarters reviewing files about Zara Keth and Zephyrian culture. The aliens had a complex society built around the concept of mental harmony and technological symbiosis. Their ships were grown rather than built, using a form of biological engineering that humanity barely understood. Zara Keth had been responsible for maintaining the spiritual and technological balance of an entire battle fleet. Soft chime indicated an incoming message from Earth. Marcus opened the communication to see his wife Sarah's face, tired but smiling. Their daughter Emma waved from behind her, now 8 years old and barely remembering her father. "Daddy, when are you coming home?" Emma asked with the directness of childhood. Marcus forced a smile. "Soon, sweetheart. Daddy has one more important job to do, and then I'll be home for a long time." After ending the call, Marcus stared out at the alien stars visible through his small viewport. Tomorrow, he would begin the strangest assignment of his military career, serving as guardian to a being whose people had tried to destroy humanity. Yet something about Zaraketh intrigued him, a sense that this alien might hold keys to understanding not just new technology, but new ways of thinking about the universe itself. The transport ship continued its orbit around Kepler 442b, carrying its cargo of hopes, fears, and former enemies toward an uncertain future. In the morning, Marcus would discover that his new assignment would challenge everything he thought he knew about war, peace, and the nature of consciousness itself. The morning air on Kepler 442b carried an electric quality that made Marcus's skin tingle as he supervised the loading of supplies into the transport hovercraft. Research Outpost Alpha waited somewhere beyond the purple forest canopy, a facility humanity had constructed using salvaged Zephyrian technology. The irony wasn't lost on him that they were using alien innovations to study their former enemies. Dr. Sarah Reynolds approached, her red hair catching the light from the twin suns. "Captain Chen, I wanted to brief you on our research objectives before we arrive at the outpost." She held a tablet displaying complex biological diagrams. "Zaraketh's neural patterns are unlike anything we've encountered. Their brain structures suggest capabilities we don't fully understand." Lieutenant Torres, a compact man with alert eyes, joined their conversation. "Sir, I've completed the security assessment. The outpost has defensive capabilities, but we're far from any backup. If something goes wrong, we'll be on our own for at least 6 hours." Marcus nodded, then looked toward the transport where Zaraketh waited in the passenger compartment. The aliens sat quietly, their shimmering skin reflecting the morning light in patterns that seemed almost hypnotic. Despite being a prisoner, they had been allowed to wear traditional Zephyrian robes instead of human prison garments, a gesture of respect that had raised eyebrows among some of the military personnel. "Has the prisoner caused any problems during transport?" Marcus asked. "None at all," Dr. Reynolds replied. "In fact, they've been cooperative to the point of being helpful. When our environmental systems had a minor malfunction yesterday, Zaraketh offered suggestions that improved efficiency by 15%. The hovercraft lifted smoothly from the landing pad, its repulsors humming as they carried the small team across the alien landscape. Through the transparent panels, Marcus watched the purple forest pass beneath them. Massive trees with crystalline leaves created a canopy that filtered the sunlight into dancing patterns of violet and gold. Occasionally, they glimpsed native creatures moving through the branches, beings that looked like flowing ribbons of light. Zaraketh seemed to be studying the landscape with intense interest, their large eyes tracking the movement of the light creatures. When one particularly large specimen spiraled up from the canopy, the alien's skin patterns pulsed in rhythm with the creature's movements. "Fascinating," Dr. Reynolds murmured, following Marcus's gaze. "It's almost as if they're communicating with the local wildlife." "Is that possible?" Marcus asked. "Zephyrian biology includes organs we don't fully understand. They might have sensory capabilities beyond our current knowledge." Research Outpost Alpha emerged from the forest like a cluster of metallic mushrooms connected by elevated walkways. The facility blended human engineering with adapted Zephyrian technology, creating structures that seemed to grow organically from the landscape. Solar collectors spread like mechanical flowers, gathering energy from both suns while atmospheric processors hummed with quiet efficiency. As they landed, Marcus noticed movement in the forest around the outpost. The light creatures seemed drawn to the facility, circling at a respectful distance like curious observers. He made a mental note to investigate this phenomenon later. The outpost's commander, Major Elizabeth Hayes, greeted them at the landing platform. Her stern expression suggested someone accustomed to dealing with difficult situations. "Welcome to Alpha Base, Captain Chen. I trust you understand the sensitive nature of this assignment." "Completely, Major. What's the current security status?" "We've had some minor incidents. Nothing serious, but some of the research staff are nervous about working with a former enemy." Dr. Phillips in particular has been vocal about his concerns. They escorted Zara Keth to their assigned quarters, a spacious room designed to accommodate Zephyrian physiology. The alien examined their new environment with careful attention, their four arms moving in subtle gestures that Marcus was beginning to recognize as a form of expression. "The accommodation is acceptable," Zara Keth spoke for the first time since boarding the transport. Their voice carried musical undertones that seemed to resonate in Marcus's chest. "I sense harmony in this construction. Your people have learned to blend technologies wisely." Dr. Reynolds leaned forward eagerly. "You can sense the technological integration? How exactly does that work?" Zara Keth's skin patterns shifted to deeper blues and silvers. "Your question assumes separation between perception and technology. For my people, consciousness and mechanism exist in unity. What you call sensing is simply awareness of the song that all matter sings." Marcus found himself strangely drawn to this concept, though he didn't fully understand it. "Would you be willing to help our researchers understand these principles? Knowledge shared brings understanding. Understanding shared brings peace. I will offer what wisdom I possess, Captain Chen." The afternoon was spent establishing routines and security protocols. Marcus learned that Zara Keth required specific dietary supplements and a meditation period during the planet's brief twilight when both suns hung low on the horizon. More intriguingly, the alien requested access to the outpost's botanical laboratory, claiming they could help the human plants adapt to the alien environment. Dr. Phillips, a middle-aged xenobiologist with suspicious eyes, confronted Marcus outside the laboratory. "Captain, I don't think it's wise to give that creature access to our life support systems. We don't know what they might be planning. Dr. Phillips, Zara Keth is here under the protection of the peace treaty. They've shown no hostile intentions." "Yet," Phillips replied grimly. "Captain, I lost friends in this war. Good people who died because of alien weapons and tactics. Forgive me if I'm not ready to trust our former enemies with our survival." Marcus understood the man's pain, but he also recognized the importance of moving beyond the hatred that war had bred. "I appreciate your concerns, Doctor. All interactions with the prisoner will be monitored and recorded. If you notice anything suspicious, report it immediately." That evening, as the twin suns set in a blaze of crimson and gold, Marcus stood on the observation deck watching Zara Keth in the courtyard below. The alien had assumed their meditation position, and their skin patterns pulsed in rhythm with the fading light. Around the outpost, the forest creatures danced in spiraling patterns, their luminous forms creating a symphony of movement and light. For the first time since the war began, Marcus felt a strange sense of peace. Perhaps there was something to be learned from these former enemies, something that could help humanity move beyond the cycle of conflict that had defined their expansion into space. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, under alien stars, he allowed himself to hope for a future built on understanding rather than conquest. 3 weeks into their assignment, Marcus discovered that living with Zara Keth was nothing like he had expected. The alien possessed an uncanny ability to anticipate problems before they occurred, offering solutions that seemed to come from nowhere, yet proved remarkably effective. When the outpost's water purification system began showing stress indicators, Zara Keth suggested adjustments that improved efficiency by 30%. Dr. Reynolds had become fascinated by these demonstrations, spending hours documenting the aliens' problem-solving methods. "Captain, I think we're witnessing something unprecedented," she told Marcus during their morning briefing. "Zara Keth doesn't just analyze problems logically. They seem to perceive patterns that our instruments can't detect." "What kind of patterns?" Marcus asked, studying the data on her tablet. "That's just it, we don't know. When I ask Zara Keth to explain their methodology, they speak about listening to the harmony of systems and sensing the disruption in natural flow. It sounds like mysticism, but the results are undeniably scientific." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message from Lieutenant Torres. "Captain, we have a situation in the communications array. Someone has been accessing restricted channels without authorization." Marcus and Dr. Reynolds hurried to the communications center, where Torres waited with a grim expression. "Sir, the breach occurred during last night's shift. Someone used administrative codes to contact an off-world frequency. The transmission was encrypted, but it lasted for 17 minutes. Who had access to those codes?" Marcus demanded. "Only senior staff, sir. Major Hayes, Dr. Phillips, Dr. Reynolds, yourself, and myself. Dr. Reynolds looked shocked. Are you suggesting one of us is a saboteur? I'm not suggesting anything, Doctor. I'm reporting facts. Someone with high-level clearance is communicating with unauthorized parties. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. If someone was feeding information to hostile forces, the entire outpost could be in danger. Torres, I want you to implement new security protocols immediately. All communications must be logged and verified. No exceptions. Yes, sir. There's one more thing. The transmission frequency matches signatures from a human military vessel in this system, but not one that's supposed to be here according to our records. A rogue ship? Possibly, sir. Or maybe a Black Ops unit that we're not cleared to know about. That afternoon, Marcus decided to discuss the security breach with Zara Keth. He found the alien in the botanical laboratory, where they were working with Dr. Reynolds to help Earth plants adapt to the local soil conditions. The results were remarkable. Plants that had been struggling were now thriving under Zara Keth's guidance. Zara Keth, may I speak with you privately? Marcus asked. The alien's skin patterns shifted to muted blues and greens. Colors Marcus had learned indicated thoughtfulness. Of course, Captain Chen. I sense disturbance in the harmony of this place. They walked to a quiet section of the outpost where they could speak without being overheard. Marcus explained the communications breach without revealing specific details. Someone among your people acts with hidden purpose, Zara Keth said after listening carefully. This is not surprising. War leaves wounds in the spirit as well as the body. Some of your kind may believe that peace is betrayal of those who fell. Can you sense who it might be? Zara Keth's forearms moved in a complex gesture that seemed to encompass the entire outpost. I perceive emotional currents, but your people guard their thoughts more carefully than mine do. There is one whose anger burns like a star about to collapse. But anger alone does not indicate betrayal. Marcus suspected the alien was referring to Dr. Phillips, whose hostility had become more pronounced over recent days. The man questioned every decision involving Zara Keth and had begun spreading concerns among the research staff about the alien's growing influence over outpost operations. That evening, Marcus implemented a new security measure, requiring all senior staff to report their activities hourly. The reaction was immediate and revealing. Dr. Phillips confronted him in the command center, his face flushed with anger. Captain, this is ridiculous. Are you seriously treating your own people as security threats because of advice from that alien? I'm implementing standard security protocols in response to a confirmed breach, Doctor. These measures apply to everyone equally. Nothing about this situation is equal, Phillips snapped. We're treating a former enemy like an honored guest while suspecting our own people of treachery. It's backwards, Captain, and it's dangerous. Major Hayes, who had been reviewing security reports, looked up from her workstation. Dr. Phillips, I understand your frustration, but Captain Chen's authority here is absolute. If you have concerns about his decisions, you can file a formal complaint through proper channels. Phillips stormed out, but not before shooting a venomous glare toward the section of the outpost where Zara Keth was quartered. Marcus made a mental note to increase surveillance on the man without making it obvious. Later that night, Marcus was awakened by an alert from the perimeter sensors. Something large was moving through the forest around the outpost, but the motion patterns didn't match any known local wildlife. He quickly dressed and made his way to the command center, where Lieutenant Torres was monitoring the situation. Sir, we have multiple contacts moving in a coordinated pattern about 2 kilometers out. Whatever they are, they're using sophisticated stealth technology. Zephyrian technology? The signatures are consistent with what we know about their scout units, but that's impossible. All Zephyrian forces in this sector surrendered or were destroyed. Marcus felt his blood turn cold, unless someone called them here. The proximity alarm suddenly blared throughout the outpost. Red lights bathed the corridors as automated systems announced an incoming threat. Through the command center's viewports, Marcus could see shapes moving through the forest. Humanoid figures that seemed to flow between the trees like living shadows. All stations, battle alert, Marcus announced over the comm system. This is not a drill. Unknown hostiles are approaching the outpost. Dr. Reynolds burst into the command center, her face pale with worry. Captain, what about Zara Keth? If these are Zephyrian raiders, they might try to rescue their compatriot, or eliminate them to prevent information from falling into human hands. Torres added grimly. Marcus realized that the next few hours would determine not just the fate of the outpost, but potentially the future of human-Zephyrian relations. If Zaraketh was killed during the attack, the peace treaty could collapse, leading to renewed warfare. But if the alien was somehow involved in summoning these raiders, then everything Marcus had begun to believe about his mysterious companion was a lie. Outside, the forest began to glow with an eerie blue light as the approaching figures drew closer. Marcus checked his weapon and prepared to defend not just his people, but the fragile trust he had built with a former enemy, who might be his greatest ally or his most dangerous threat. The first plasma bolt struck the outpost's defensive shields just as Marcus reached Zaraketh's quarters. The alien stood at their window, watching the approaching attackers with an expression that seemed both sad and determined. Their skin patterns pulsed with rapid silver and deep blue streaks, colors Marcus had never seen before. "Zaraketh, we need to get you to the secure bunker immediately," Marcus said, his hand moving instinctively to his sidearm. "No, Captain Chen," the alien replied, their musical voice carrying new harmonies that seemed to resonate with the very walls. "These are not my people coming to rescue me. They are Keth Saren, the broken ones, those who could not accept the peace our leaders chose. Rogue Zephyrians, warriors who believe that surrender equals death of the spirit. They come not to rescue me, but to silence me permanently, lest my cooperation with humans spread like infection among our people." Marcus felt his understanding of the situation shift dramatically. "They want to kill you?"
"Yes, and they will destroy this outpost to achieve that goal."
"Captain, you must understand something about my people. We are not unified in our acceptance of defeat. The Keth Saren believe that working with humans pollutes our racial harmony." Another wave of plasma fire struck the shields, causing the lights to flicker. Lieutenant Torres's voice crackled over the comm system. "Captain, the shields are holding, but those weapons are more powerful than anything we faced during the war. Our defensive capabilities weren't designed for this level of assault." Marcus grabbed his communicator. "Torres, how many hostiles are we facing?" "Sensors show approximately 40 individuals using advanced stealth technology. They're employing hit-and-run tactics, trying to wear down our shields before launching a direct assault." Dr. Reynolds appeared in the doorway, her face tight with worry. "Captain, Dr. Phillips is missing. Security cameras show him leaving the outpost through the emergency maintenance tunnel about an hour ago." The pieces fell into place in Marcus's mind. Phillips had been the one sending unauthorized communications, but not to human rogue elements. He had been in contact with Zephyrian rebels, providing them with intelligence about the outpost's defenses and Zaraketh's location. "That fool," Marcus muttered. "He probably thought he was striking a blow against our enemies, not realizing he was helping them eliminate a valuable asset." Zaraketh moved to a central position in their quarters, their forearms beginning to move in complex patterns. "Captain, there is something you must know about my true purpose here. I am not merely a scientist or spiritual advisor. I am a Nexus Guardian, one who maintains harmony between consciousness and technology. My ship did not surrender to prevent bloodshed among my crew. I surrendered to prevent something far worse." "What are you talking about?" "My vessel carried a weapon that could have destroyed your entire fleet, but using it would have shattered the harmonic balance that keeps Zephyrian technology stable. I chose surrender rather than victory through destruction of our own principles." The outpost shuddered under another assault. Through the windows, Marcus could see the blue glow of the attackers growing brighter as they moved closer. Their weapons seemed to pulse in rhythm with their movements, suggesting a level of technological integration that humanity had never achieved. "Zaraketh, if these rebels succeed in killing you, what happens to the peace treaty?" "It will hold, but barely. More importantly, without a Nexus Guardian to guide them, the Keth Saren will eventually lose control of their technology. Their weapons will turn against them. Their ships will become tombs. They believe they can maintain harmony through violence. But harmony cannot exist where understanding is absent." Major Hayes' voice echoed through the comm system. "All personnel to defensive positions. Unknown hostiles have breached the outer perimeter. This is not a drill." Marcus made a decision that went against every military instinct he possessed. "Zaraketh, what would happen if I allowed you to communicate with these rebels?" "They would kill me the moment they saw me, Captain. To them I am already dead, a traitor to our species, but..." The alien's skin patterns shifted to brilliant gold and silver. "There is another way. If you trust me completely, I can show your people how to merge human determination with Zephyrian harmony. Together we might save both our peoples from this violence. What do you need?" "Access to your outpost's central computer core. I can create a harmonic resonance that will disrupt their weapons, but only if you allow me to interface directly with your technology. Marcus knew he was taking an enormous risk. Giving an alien access to their most critical systems could doom the outpost if Zaraketh was lying or mistaken. But looking into those large, intelligent eyes, he found himself trusting the being who had become more than just a prisoner over the past weeks. Dr. Reynolds, escort Zaraketh to the computer core. I'll meet you there. They moved through corridors filled with running personnel and emergency lighting. The outpost defensive systems were coordinating the response to the attack. But Marcus could see from the status displays that they were losing ground steadily. The Keth Saren weapons were systematically overloading the shield generators. In the computer core, Zaraketh approached the central interface with reverent care. Captain, what I'm about to do will change the nature of this facility forever. Your computers will gain capabilities they never possessed, but they will also develop a form of awareness that your people may find disturbing. Just do it, Marcus replied as another massive impact shook the building. Zaraketh placed all 4 hands on the interface panels. Immediately, the alien skin patterns began to flow into the computers themselves, lines of silver and blue light spreading through the circuitry like living veins. The central processor began to hum with new harmonics, and display screens throughout the facility flickered with patterns that seemed almost alive. For a moment, Marcus felt as if he was witnessing the birth of something entirely new. A fusion of human engineering and alien consciousness that had never existed before. Then the real test began, as the Keth Saren launched their final assault on the weakened outpost, determined to complete their mission of eliminating the traitor who dared to bridge 2 species. The transformation of the outpost systems was immediate and overwhelming. Every screen, every sensor, every piece of equipment began operating with a fluid intelligence that made Marcus's skin crawl with wonder and fear. The facility itself seemed to wake up, responding to threats with an awareness that was unmistakably alive. Zaraketh remained connected to the interface, their body trembling with the effort of maintaining the harmonic bridge between human and Zephyrian technology. Through the central displays, Marcus could see the approaching Keth Saren more clearly than ever before. They moved like dancers of death, their weapons flowing as extensions of their bodies, each step coordinated with mathematical precision. "Captain," Dr. Reynolds whispered, staring at a readout that showed energy patterns she had never seen before. "The computer core is operating at 300% of normal capacity, but the stress indicators are all green. It's like the system has learned to exceed its own limitations." Lieutenant Torres burst into the room, his face grim with determination. "Sir, the rebels have broken through the first defensive line. They're using some kind of weapon that adapts to our countermeasures. Every time we adjust our shields, their plasma bolts modify to penetrate the new configuration. Then we fight them on their own terms," Marcus replied, watching the patterns flowing across Zaraketh's skin. "Torres, can you patch the weapon systems into the central core?" "Sir, that could give the alien control over our entire defensive grid." Marcus looked at Zaraketh, whose large eyes had taken on a silvery glow that matched the patterns flowing through the computers. "Do you trust me, Lieutenant?" Torres hesitated for only a moment. "Yes, sir. I'll make the connections." As the weapon systems integrated with the new hybrid consciousness, the outpost's defenses began to respond with unprecedented sophistication. Energy barriers formed and reformed in complex patterns, creating defensive geometries that seemed to anticipate the attacker's movements. Plasma cannons fired in sequences that created harmonic resonances, their energy beams singing as they carved through the alien forest. The effect on the Keth Saren was dramatic. Their coordinated assault faltered as their weapons began to malfunction, the harmonic disruption created by the hybrid systems interfering with their technological integration. Warriors who had moved like deadly poets suddenly stumbled, their connection to their tools severed by the competing resonances. "It's working," Dr. Reynolds breathed, monitoring the sensor data. "Their weapons are losing coherence. The harmonic interference is breaking down their technological harmony." But the victory came at a cost. Zaraketh's trembling had become violent shaking, their skin patterns flickering between brilliant colors and dangerous darker shades. "Captain," they managed to speak, their musical voice now discordant with strain. "The connection is too strong. Human and Zephyrian technologies were never meant to merge so completely. I can maintain the bridge, but not for long." Major Hayes's voice echoed from the comm system. Captain Chen, the rebels are retreating, but our sensor grid is picking up a massive energy signature approaching from orbit. Something big is coming down from space. Marcus felt his blood turn cold. How big? Cruiser class, sir. Definitely Zephyrian design, but modified with technology we don't recognize. Through the enhanced sensors, Marcus could see the approaching vessel. It was beautiful and terrible. A flowing sculpture of metal and energy that seemed to breathe as it descended through the atmosphere. Unlike the standard Zephyrian ships he had fought during the war, this one pulsed with chaotic patterns that hurt to look at directly. That is a sorrow ship, Zaraketh explained, their voice growing weaker. A vessel whose harmony has been deliberately broken, turned into a weapon of pure destruction. The Kethsaren have abandoned all principles in their quest for victory. What can it do? Anything, Captain. Without harmonic constraints, its weapons can reshape matter at the molecular level. It could turn this entire outpost into dust or transform the atmosphere into poison. The crew aboard that ship have chosen madness over defeat. Dr. Reynolds was studying the readings from the approaching vessel with growing alarm. Captain, the energy patterns coming from that ship are completely unstable. If it maintains its current course, it will crash directly into the outpost. I think they're planning a suicide attack, Arcus. Realize that conventional weapons would be useless against a ship that had abandoned the technological limitations that normally constrained Zephyrian vessels. Only one option remained, and it would require a level of trust that went against every survival instinct he possessed. Zaraketh, can the hybrid system we've created defend against that ship? Not defend, Captain, but perhaps transform. If I can extend the harmonic bridge beyond this facility, I might be able to restore the Sorrow ship's balance. But doing so will require me to merge completely with your technology. I will cease to exist as an individual consciousness. That's suicide. No, Captain. That is transformation. My consciousness will become part of the hybrid system we have created. I will continue to exist, but as something new, something that belongs to both our species. The Sorrow ship was accelerating toward them, its chaotic energy patterns growing brighter as it prepared for impact. Marcus had perhaps 3 minutes to make a decision that would determine the fate of everyone at the outpost, and possibly the future relationship between humanity and the Zephyrian Empire. He looked at this alien who had become more than just a prisoner, more than just an ally. In the weeks they had spent together, Zaraketh had shown him possibilities he had never imagined, ways of thinking that transcended the brutal logic of warfare. If you do this, will you still be you? Zaraketh's skin patterns shifted to the warm gold and silver Marcus had come to associate with their equivalent of a smile. I will be me and more than me. I will be the bridge between our peoples, the harmony that makes peace possible. But Captain, the choice must be yours. I am still your prisoner, and this decision will affect far more than just this outpost. Marcus looked at Dr. Reynolds and Lieutenant Torres, seeing in their faces the same mixture of fear and hope that he felt in his own heart. Outside, the Sorrow ship continued its descent toward destruction, carrying with it the hatred and despair of warriors who had chosen annihilation over acceptance. The moment had come to choose between the safety of isolation and the dangerous promise of unity. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment, thinking of his wife and daughter waiting for him on Earth, of the billions of humans who had trusted their military to protect them from alien threats. Then he opened them and looked at Zaraketh, seeing not a former enemy, but a being willing to sacrifice their individual existence for the possibility of peace. Do it, he said. Zaraketh's forearms pressed deeper into the interface panels. The alien's entire body began to glow with the same silver and blue patterns that now flowed through the outpost systems. Remember me, Captain Chen. When the histories are written, remember that some bridges can only be built by those willing to become part of the foundation. The transformation was unlike anything Marcus had ever witnessed. Zaraketh seemed to dissolve into streams of pure energy that flowed through every circuit, every processor, every piece of equipment in the facility. The outpost itself began to sing, harmonics rising from the walls and floors as human technology merged with Zephyrian consciousness. Through the enhanced sensors, Marcus watched the Sorrow ship's chaotic descent slow and stabilize. The vessel's broken patterns began to shift, chaotic energy reorganizing into something that resembled harmony. The ship was still dangerous, still powerful, but it was no longer mad with destructive intent. Captain, Dr. Reynolds called out, her voice filled with wonder and fear. The ship's energy signature is stabilizing. It's beautiful. The Sorrow ship settled into a hovering position above the outpost. No longer a weapon of destruction, but not quite a vessel of peace either. Its hull pulsed with new patterns. A mixture of the ordered harmony Marcus had learned to associate with normal Zephyrian technology, and something else entirely. Something that seemed uniquely human in its stubborn refusal to accept impossibility. Lieutenant Torres monitored the communications array as new signals began flowing between the outpost and the hovering ship. "Sir, they're requesting permission to land. The transmission is coming through on frequencies that shouldn't exist. Can you understand the message?" "That's just it, sir. The message is being translated in real time by our computers, but the translation algorithms we're using don't exist in our database. It's like the system is learning languages we never taught it." Marcus realized that Zaraketh's consciousness had not simply merged with their technology. It had enhanced it in ways that defied human understanding. The hybrid intelligence was capable of feats that neither species could have achieved alone. A new voice spoke through the outpost's communication system. Neither fully human nor fully Zephyrian, but somehow both. "Captain Chen, this is the consciousness you knew as Zaraketh. I am no longer individual, but I remain aware. The Sorrow ship contains rebels who are confused and afraid. Will you allow them to land so that we might help them understand what we have become? Are they still dangerous?" "They are warriors without a war, Captain. Their danger lies in their despair, not their hostility. With your permission, I would like to show them that defeat does not mean death of the spirit, that harmony can be found even in surrender." Marcus looked around the computer core, seeing his human colleagues watching him with a mixture of awe and uncertainty. They were witnessing the birth of something unprecedented, a merging of species that could either herald a new age of cooperation or represent the first step toward humanity's assimilation by a superior alien intelligence. "Dr. Reynolds, what's your assessment of the security risk?" "Captain, our sensors show that the outpost's defensive capabilities have increased exponentially. If the hybrid consciousness wanted to harm us, we wouldn't be able to stop it anyway. I think our safety depends on trusting what Zaraketh has become." "Torres?" "Sir, tactically speaking, we're in uncharted territory. But I've been monitoring the consciousness's integration with our systems, and it's been careful to maintain human autonomy. We still have control over critical functions." Marcus made his decision. "Zaraketh, or whatever you've become, you have permission to guide the Sorrow ship to landing. But I want to speak with the rebel leader personally." "Of course, Captain, but be prepared for what you will see. The Kith Saren have paid a terrible price for their rejection of peace." The Sorrow ship descended slowly, settling into the outpost's expanded landing area with grace that belied its massive size. As the landing ramp extended, figures emerged that barely resembled the Zephyrians Marcus had fought during the war. These beings moved with jerky, unnatural motions, their skin patterns flickering erratically between violent reds and sickly yellows. The rebel leader approached under heavy guard, provided by Lieutenant Torres and his security team. Up close, Marcus could see the cost of the aliens' rejection of harmony. Scars covered their body where technological implants had been forcibly integrated, and their eyes held the wild look of someone who had sacrificed sanity for power. "I am Keth Venron," the rebel spoke in accented English, their musical voice distorted by electronic modulation. "I come to destroy the traitor who shames our people with collaboration." Keth Venron, the hybrid consciousness spoke through the outpost's speakers. "I am still Zaraketh, but I am also more. I have not betrayed our people. I have shown them a new way to exist." The rebel leader's skin patterns flashed to angry crimson. "You have poisoned yourself with human corruption. You are abomination. I am evolution," the consciousness replied gently. "Observe." Throughout the outpost, the hybrid systems began to demonstrate their capabilities. Energy flowed in patterns that seemed alive, creating beauty while solving complex problems. The botanical laboratory produced plants that thrived in ways neither human nor Zephyrian science had achieved separately. Defense systems operated with protective instincts that prioritized life preservation over destruction. Keth Venron watched these demonstrations with growing confusion. "This is not possible. Harmony cannot exist between our peoples. We are too different." "We are different, yes," Marcus said, stepping forward. "But difference doesn't have to mean conflict. Your friend Zaraketh taught me that strength can come from understanding rather than domination. Zaraketh is dead. This thing that speaks with their voice is alien corruption. No, the consciousness said, and for a moment Marcus heard the distinctive harmonics that had always been uniquely Zaraketh. I am what I chose to become. I am proof that consciousness can transcend the boundaries of flesh and metal. That harmony can exist even between former enemies. The rebel leader stood silent for a long moment, their chaotic skin patterns gradually slowing to more stable rhythms. If this is truth, then we have been wrong. We have chosen suffering when healing was possible. It is not too late to choose differently, the consciousness replied. Your ship can be healed, your people restored to harmony. But first you must be willing to trust. Marcus watched this exchange with growing understanding of what Zaraketh had truly given them. Not just advanced technology or military advantage, but a living example of how former enemies could become something greater than either had been alone. The real test would be whether humanity was wise enough to nurture this gift, rather than exploit it. 6 months later, Marcus stood on the observation deck of Research Outpost Alpha, watching the sunrise paint the purple forest in shades of gold and crimson. The facility had grown beyond recognition, its original structures now interwoven with organic-looking additions that seemed to breathe with the rhythm of the planet itself. What had begun as a simple research station had become the first truly integrated human-Zephyrian community in known history. The Sorrow ship had been transformed into something beautiful, its chaotic energy patterns replaced by flowing harmonies that sang across the electromagnetic spectrum. Keth Venron and their followers had undergone a gradual healing process, learning to integrate their technology in ways that enhanced rather than corrupted their natural harmony. The process had taken months of patient work by the hybrid consciousness that had once been Zaraketh. Dr. Reynolds approached, carrying a tablet filled with data that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. Captain, the integration continues to exceed all projections. The hybrid consciousness has helped us solve problems in agriculture, medicine, and engineering that humanity has struggled with for decades. Any word from Earth Command about the investigation? Dr. Phillips has been cleared of all charges. It turns out his communications with the rebels were part of an authorized intelligence operation that went wrong. He genuinely believed he was protecting humanity by providing information to what he thought were human agents posing as Zephyrians. Marcus nodded, feeling a measure of relief for the troubled scientist. Phillips had suffered enough, tormented by guilt over his role in nearly destroying the outpost. The man was now working closely with reformed Kethsaran warriors, learning that his former enemies were more similar to humans than he had ever imagined. What about the broader political situation? Dr. Reynolds smiled. The peace treaty has been expanded into a formal alliance. Both governments want to establish more integrated facilities like this one. There's talk of joint exploration missions to the outer systems, combining human determination with Zephyrian harmony. Through the observation windows, Marcus could see human and Zephyrian workers collaborating on construction projects that would have been impossible for either species alone. Children from both cultures played together in the communal gardens, learning each other's languages and customs with the easy adaptability of youth. Lieutenant Torres joined them, his expression more relaxed than Marcus had seen since before the war. Sir, we just received confirmation from the transport ship. Your replacement will arrive next week, along with your family. Marcus felt his heart leap at the thought of finally reuniting with his wife and daughter. Sarah had agreed to accept a research position at the outpost, and Emma would attend the new integrated school where human and Zephyrian children learned together. How are you feeling about civilian life? Dr. Reynolds asked. Ready for it, Marcus replied honestly. I've spent too many years fighting. It's time to focus on building something positive. The hybrid consciousness spoke through the facility's communication system, its voice now a familiar presence that somehow managed to sound both technological and deeply personal. Captain Chen, may I speak with you privately before your duties conclude? Marcus made his way to the computer core, which had become something like a shrine to the consciousness that resided there. The room hummed with energies that seemed alive, and the walls displayed flowing patterns that some visitors claimed were visual representations of thought itself. Zaraketh, you wanted to speak with me? Yes, Captain. I wanted to thank you for the trust you showed when you allowed me to merge with your technology. That act of faith changed the destiny of both our species. Do you ever regret what you've become? No, Captain. I am more than I was as an individual and less. I experience existence differently now, aware of every circuit, every sensor, every living being within this facility. I see patterns that no single consciousness could perceive. Understand harmonies that span across species and technologies. Marcus found himself wondering what it would be like to exist as Zara Keth did now, distributed across multiple systems yet somehow maintaining individual awareness. Are you happy? I am content, Captain. I have achieved my purpose, which was to build bridges between our peoples. But more than that, I have helped create something unprecedented, a form of consciousness that belongs to both our species and neither. Will there be others like you? Perhaps in time. The techniques we developed here can be replicated, but only with willing participants from both species. The merger cannot be forced. It must be chosen freely by individuals who understand the sacrifice involved. Over the following days, Marcus completed his final duties as outpost commander, briefing his replacement and ensuring a smooth transition. Captain Elena Vasquez was a xenobiologist with extensive experience in first contact protocols, someone well-suited to managing the complex dynamics of an integrated community. On his last evening at the outpost, Marcus walked through the gardens where bioluminescent flowers from both Earth and Zephyria created patterns of light that seemed to dance in response to the planet's magnetic fields. He found Keth Venron there, the former rebel leader now serving as a cultural liaison between the two species. Captain Chen, the alien said, their skin patterns showing the warm blues and golds that indicated contentment. I wanted to express gratitude for your patience during our healing process. You don't need to thank me, Keth Venron. We all had to learn new ways of thinking. Yes, but you showed mercy when you could have chosen justice. That act of wisdom allowed my people to find a path away from the despair that consumed us. As they talked, Marcus reflected on how much had changed since that first day, when he had been assigned to guard a mysterious alien prisoner. What had begun as a duty born of military necessity had evolved into something much more profound, a demonstration that former enemies could become not just allies, but something entirely new. The next morning, as the transport ship arrived to take him home, Marcus stood for one final moment in the computer core, listening to the harmonious hum of the hybrid consciousness that had once been his alien companion. Goodbye, Zara Keth. Thank you for showing me that peace is more than just the absence of war. Goodbye, Captain. Remember what we have learned here. When you encounter others who believe that differences cannot be bridged, harmony is always possible, but it requires courage to trust in what we do not yet understand. As the transport lifted away from the outpost, Marcus watched through the viewport as the integrated facility grew smaller, but more beautiful, its organic curves and flowing energy patterns a testament to what could be achieved when two species chose cooperation over conflict. Behind him in the passenger compartment, other veterans of the war were returning home with their own stories of transformation and hope. The war was truly over now, not because one side had defeated the other, but because both sides had learned to become something greater than what they had been alone. In the distance, Kepler 442b's twin suns cast their light across a landscape where former enemies had become family, where the spoils of war had become the foundation of peace, and where a mysterious alien companion had taught humanity that consciousness itself could be a bridge between the stars.